All right, it is roundtable time. Let's bring in former Chiefs linebacker Desmond Moses and KCTV5's Breland Moore and Neil Jones. Guys, let's start off with the $500 million man, Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he had some great moments in the first half, but that's not the story tonight, is it, Desmond?
Patton is the heart and soul of this team. It's very difficult as a player to see your star go down, especially one of your leaders. But for Kansas City, tonight they responded. The defense led them home. They had some huge stops. Held these guys, held the Browns down exactly where they needed to go. And then number 10, he was shorthanded and what ended up being the game-sealing catch. That's what I like to see. You have to have your stars step up, especially when you have a guy like Pat Mahomes go down.
Breland?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. You know, you always hate to see something happen like that. That's something you never want to see. You just never want to even plan for to happen in a game. That being said, the next man up mentality was on clear display. I mean, Chad Henne has never, ever played in postseason. And for him to come in and hang in there and for this team to rally around him was incredible to see. I think it could have gone one of two ways. Either you completely crumble when your leader goes, or you step up, and that is exactly what we saw here today. They have to be proud of themselves, and quite frankly, Chad Henne needs to be extremely proud of himself. All of them just really rallied around and gave the Chiefs that victory. It was a true team win.
Yeah, Neil, what was your thought on the headline that came to be that none of us were expecting?
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, the story of the game was this. And then it became that. And then when Patrick Mahomes goes down, it becomes the kind of headline you see like, you know, Japanese attack Pearl Harbor. It is that big for Chiefs fans, for Chiefs Nation. We have put so much of our hopes and our trust in this guy. The team, as you pointed out, have put almost $1 billion worth of trust into him, right? So this was a massive thing. It swamps two stories that I think are huge, and that is one, the job done by the defense. They came up big in the fourth quarter to save this football game. And then, of course, the job done by Henne off the bench. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the point that a lot of us overlook because of the fact that he left was how well and how efficient they played in that first half before he did get injured. Then when he goes out, you see a completely different team that now has to rally around Chad Henne and their defense, and Tyreek Hill steps up, Travis Kelce steps up, and it's really good to be able to see that you don't necessarily have to have MV Pat in there, number 15, putting the team on his back in order to win games. And a big part of that goes back to Neil's point with the defense stepping up so well, and even Desmond touched on it too, was that they don't win this game if the defense doesn't step up there with about 4.5 minutes to go and stop that drive for the Browns when they were trying to drive and take the lead. Okay, the reason we're not talking about a loss is because of the man, the myth, the legend, Chad Henne. Desmond, how impressive was his performance tonight?
I'm so impressed. You know, it's very difficult what he did, so kudos to him. This guy, Chad Henne, he's the definition of a crusty old vet, you know, a consummate professional, a guy who hasn't won an NFL game in over 5 years. 5 years. The ability to stay ready, stay locked in, stay sharp, because it's human nature as a player and as a person just to relax when you don't think you're going to play, when you don't think you're needed. This guy, he's a professional, and the professional nature is to stay ready so that way you don't have to get ready.
Breland, I know that Henne is from your hometown, so there's a special place in your heart for him as well. What did you think of him stepping up?
No matter how famous I'll ever get, Taylor Swift is always going to be ahead of me, so I just have to be okay with a comfortable 2 at best. But now, I think even Chad Henne has surpassed Taylor Swift, at least here in the Kansas City Metro. That was just absolutely incredible. He's 35 years old, and we saw in Week 17 that his family, especially his children, were just so excited for him to get in a game, period. He's actually playing meaningful football, and he got a win. Anything is for sure possible, and I'm sure that locker room could not be any prouder of him than they already are.
Yeah, he had the game of his career, a performance of his career, and having not played in the playoffs prior, what a moment for him. Neil, what do you think was so special about this moment for him?
What shocked me was his ability to drop back, feel that the pocket was collapsing, nobody's open, and he takes off at age 100 and runs for 14.
You have room to talk, Neil.
That's why I'm allowed to do that. If you guys did, it would be bad. Like I'm twice his age. But he took off. That's not what you expect Chad Henne to do, to go out and make an athletic play and dive and give himself up. We heard him earlier saying he loves this team team and he gave his body up for his team. He did it. That's the stunner for me. I could not be happier for him.
Henny showed us tonight why he deserves that backup role and why he's a great number 2. And like Desmond mentioned, he's a crusty old vet, but he is a wily old vet and definitely able to step in and take over those reins and run the offense the way that Andy Reid wants it run. Part of the reason we're talking about Henny stepping up is because Andy Reid had faith in his guy, not only going for it on 4th down, but calling a pass on 4th and inches to seal this game. Desmond, what a call.
Andy's turning into one of the GOATs, and I say one of the GOATs because there are a few, Bill Belichick and those guys that come to mind, but Andy has stamped himself as a Super Bowl winning head coach, a revolutionary as far as in regards to play creations and the West Coast offense. This guy's implemented a ton of that stuff into his offense. Now the evolution into one of the gutsiest, boldest game managers and game callers. Andy Reid and his staff are winning games. They're no longer just holding on at the end.
And they've shown that maybe they were just holding stuff close to the vest, right, Breland?
I just had this sneaking suspicion that some fun things were just going to fly our way here in the postseason. And sure enough, just absolutely incredible by Andy Reid making that call. And, you know, I think that also speaks a lot to Eric Bieniemy as well. Andy gave him a lot of credit for that sequence of events that occurred towards the end of the game. And I think hopefully somebody sees that and says, hey, I want to hire this guy, finally, as a head coach in the National Football League.
Finally.
I'm going to go back to what I've said all along. I don't like quarterback sneaks. I don't like the quarterback running the football. They got their first touchdown today off a nice job by Patrick Mahomes running. I don't like it, and this is the reason why. I think that there are X's and O's reasons to do it because you can outnumber the defense and get more blockers, but whether it's college football or pro football, when you've got a quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes, who's the franchise, don't put him in harm's way.
It's so easy to say that, though, when it happens.
Yeah.
When it doesn't happen and he's taking those defenses off guard and he's a different weapon and he's winning Super Bowl games by running, then you're like, yeah, that's my quarterback. He can use his legs and his arm.
I'm talking about a called run where you're running in the tackle box up against big guys. I'm not talking about when you're running around. Patrick Mahomes is the best at it, and you're right. Look what he did to the Titans in the AFC Championship game. Looked like we're playing touch football. They couldn't get him down. But I'm saying I just think that here we are in a situation now where we're holding our breath about Mahomes' health because of a called run. And Andy Reid's won a lot more games than me, but it still scares me.
Honestly, I'm with you, Neil. I don't really love the created runs for Patrick Mahomes. When you pay a guy $500 million, you want him to be in the pocket, showing off that golden arm, because as a defender, when we see a quarterback in the pocket or outside planning on running, we know that the NFL rules allow us to tee off on them. And you saw in this play, Patrick got hit pretty good, drove the crown of his head into the dirt. That's what you don't want to see your $500 million quarterback doing, is with some turf in his helmet.
Yeah, and I love that point because defenders, when they get their shot at a quarterback,
absolutely,
they're going to take it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Finally, those may be the big three, but this really was the ultimate team win. What were your guys' final takeaways, Des?
Yeah, I take away the win. That's the most important. As a player, as a coach, you play to win a game. Sometimes it's ugly. Sometimes it's pretty. You know, you get to blow teams out by 20, 30. On a night like tonight, you know, when you lose your head guy, as a team, you want to come together and find a way to win. That's one thing Kansas City did tonight and something they'll do moving forward. I think Pat will be back and he'll be at the top of his game. But, boy, tonight was a big win.
Yeah. Breland, your takeaway?
Yeah, Danny, you and I talked about it this morning, actually, the tale of two halves, right? What we saw last year during the divisional game where the Chiefs were down 24-0, and then all of a sudden it was a completely different game. I kind of felt the same way today because it was smooth sailing. Everything looks great in the first half. Butker was a little sketchy, but that was really the only thing that I really had to complain about. Everything else looked just peachy. And then in the final two quarters, I felt like that little dog with the coffee cup sitting in the flames saying this is fine. That's really my thought process during the entire Patrick Mahomes incident that happened. But the resiliency of this team to once again rally around and come up with the victory was just really mind-blowing to me. And quite frankly, that speaks volumes. And that's an intangible thing that you can't call. You can't make a play for that. You can't draft something like that. That is just an intangible locker room vibe that these guys want to rally around and completely help each other and boost each other up, even when their most valuable player is out of the mix. It was just an incredible thing to see. And I think that intangible factor very well could lead them back to another Super Bowl.
Yeah. Neil, your takeaway?
Well, this football team is a great football team, and they know how to win. That's the most unbelievable takeaway, and that's what I'm going to remember 20 years from now if I'm alive. I'll remember how this team played together and came together. When things got tough, they answered the call, whether it was the playoffs last year, the regular season this year. They've been unbelievable. But they've got to figure out what's going on with their kicking game. It reminds me way too much of Lynn Elliott. A situation where when they needed him, he didn't come through, cost them and knocked them out of the playoffs in 1995. They've got to fix that. It didn't kill him today, but who's to say what might happen next week or in 3 weeks if they get to the Super Bowl?
For sure. All year long, people have been harping on the Chiefs' run defense. And I think tonight, going up against the best tandem in the NFL right now, in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, they were able to slow them down significantly. They ended up with a little over 110 rushing yards, and the Chiefs outgained them. So shout out to the defense for being able to put all those critics aside and be able to get this win and come up big whenever they needed to down the stretch. And then also another big takeaway on the defensive side that is not getting nearly enough love is the fact that Mahomes wasn't the only one who left with a concussion. So did Bashaud Breeland, and he's a big part of that defense, and especially the secondary. But you know who stepped up and stepped in? L'Jarius Sneed, who has had a phenomenal season, and the rookie has done so much to show me that he deserves to be a starting cornerback in this league and to be a significant contributor to this defense. I think that he is going to be very talented and very beneficial in years to come, but also during this postseason run. All right, guys, thank you so much.